Hello and welcome back to our RTS series. Now, making our RTS, there's one thing that all RTS games have that we have yet to implement, and that is the fog of war. What is the fog of war? Well, it is this haze of obscurity around your level that shields and hides areas of the map from the player's view, encouraging the player to explore the map and find the enemy bases. So we're going to go through the startup of that today. And the way we're going to start off, first of all, is going to enable a couple of project settings. Well, first of all, you have to go to project settings, and you want to enable UV, type in UV in the search box, and you want to search for and find support UV from hit results. You need this turned on. This will be used later on to determine exactly the location of where we want to hide and show things. So you need that turned on. It would require a engine restart, so restart the engine, and return back to the project. Alongside that as well, go back in there. We also need to have a new channel made up for us, and you need a new channel called fog. Okay, so I'm going to create a new trace channel here, and you type in fog, and set the default response to be ignore. And you have it come up here. Okay, and lastly, I've turned off auto exposure to make it so we don't get it brightened when we don't want it brightened. Okay, so let's begin. We have to first of all create a new folder for Fog of War. And in here, the way it works, there are two types of Fog of War. The first type is a general reveal. It's going to reveal your location through the mist and show you where you are. The other one is going to leave a trail behind itself, so you have kept on your screen where you've visited in the past. Now, things will still be hidden in that view, but they will still be re-explorable later on. So let's create two render targets. You have to go to Materials and Textures and create a render target. This first one I'm going to call Fog of War Render. And I'll make another one. Fog of War Reveal Render. So the one that's going to be like tracing where we've been will be the Fog of War render, and the one that's revealing the location of all the units, that is this one here. And each one of these needs to have a material rated as well. Fog of War material. Fog of War reveal. Material, and we also need a third material, and this is going to be the actual thing that is actually placed into the world, and we call this one Fog of War. Okay, now let's go through how these set up. The first thing we want to do is enable our render targets to be a higher resolution than they currently are. By default, they'll pick 256 by 256, which is quite low, so let's turn this up to like 1024 by 1024. Save that one and go to this one, do 1024, 1024. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create our Fog of War materials. Now, these are going to be pretty simple. All they are is basically a dot that we're representing on the screen at a certain location. That location is going to be in the form of a UV coordinate between 0 and 1. So we need to go into our Fog of War material. Remember, this is one that is going to be adding a trail to this to the scene, so you can see where we previously have gone. And to make a circle, it's pretty simple. All we can do is create a sphere mask, and in the sphere mask, in the A coordinate, that's going to be your texture coordinate node. This just tells you the sort of range and space of the sphere it's in this case, texture coordinate. The B value is going to be the location of the origin, the center of the circle. So in this case, we want to make a vector parameter. So hold down V, left click, and it'll create a vector parameter. I'm going to call that one location. And I'm going to put a default value of R 0.5 and G 0.5. Just so we can demonstrate and show you where it's going. We want this to be masked out because we're only interested in R and G, which is X and Y. or U and V in our coordinate space. So take out the white pin here, and we'll do a mask and do component mask. Just get R and G out, and we're going to plug that into B. Okay. Next is the radius. Now the radius is quite a small number, but will vary based on your unit, the size of your map, and so forth. So this may need a bit of tweaking based on your own game, but try to keep your maps, if you're doing multiple maps, all the same size, and this will make this a lot easier. So the radius here, we make a size parameter. So it's going to be a scalar. Hold down S, left click, and we're going to call this one size. And this one, I'm going to give a default value of 0.05, and plug that into radius. And lastly, I want to turn the hardness down on the sphere mask here to 0. Now if I expand this open, you should see a little dot appear. Okay, and it's right in the middle because of this location here. So as we put in different locations, it's going to actually move this dot around. So if I move it to the left a little bit, it will now appear on the left of the side of this. This is a UV space, so it goes between 0 and 1. And that means we have to turn our world coordinates into a 0 to 1 landscape. And we're going to have a very particular type of object on there to handle this. So it doesn't matter what the default for this is, because that will be getting changed during the game. Let's just now plug this into emissive color. And we need to change our material here to be additive. So change the blend mode down here to additive. Okay, it can apply, and we're done. You should see, if I go to plane view here, just see the little dot appear. Okay, and that's what you got to do for this one. Close that. And the other one is pretty much the same thing. So we're going to go into Fog of War reveal, and we're just going to copy and paste the other one. So let's just go in there, copy this, and go into here, and paste that into emissive color. And this one you want to make as additive as well. Now, even though this one isn't going to leave a trail, the additive is there so we can add multiple of these to the map, because we have multiple units or adding to the same texture. So we make sure the additive is set there. The way it works with this one is that you make them all draw to the texture, and then you clean the texture out before you draw it to it again. It's quite an expensive process to do Fog of War, so be aware that it will add an impact to your performance, but you should be okay, as an RTS game generally doesn't have much going on in it before that would cause performance hits. So we've got that set up, but for this one, I'm going to make the reveal area a little bit bigger than my non-reveal one. So I'm going to take the size here, I'm going to multiply this by 1.1, so it's 10% bigger. Now go into radius. You should see a little bigger circle there. Okay, right, we're happy with that. We can close this now. So we've got our two materials for our Fog of War being used. We now have to combine them together with our render targets in our Fog of War material. So open up our Fog of War material, and in here we have to combine these things together to create a sort of black shadow across our whole entire map. So first things first is the black shadow part. So the base color here, we're just going to put in a black color into base color. Simple. Next, we need to bring out our texture samples. So I'm going to hit texture sample. A shortcut for that is T, left click. Do that and you'll appear as a texture sample. And we're going to choose our render target. So I'm going to do Fog of War render. And we're going to do Fog of War reveal render. Okay. Next, we need to take our R value from here and clamp it. Because it's being additive, it's always adding values to it. Therefore, it's getting brighter and brighter and brighter. Clamp will just bring it back down between a 0 and 1 range, which is what we want. We then want to multiply this by a grey value, because we don't want it to be completely see-through. You just want to see a little bit through it. So in this case, you're going to put in a grey. So I'm going to put in a grey colour. Dark, like a dark grey at least anyway. Like that. And we're going to multiply it by this value here. So the bits that has been revealed will have this grey transparency on them. Next, we're going to have to add our reveal map to it as well. So take the multiplier here, do add, And I'm going to add the R of this one to it as well. And then I need to flip these around because this is going to be a white. Like, you think about this texture, it will come out as white here. I actually want it as black because I'm going to be using it for an opacity. So I'm going to take the 1 minus here and put that in to our opacity. Okay, now for opacity to actually be useful for us, we have to change this to be translucent so we can actually see through it. Okay, so one last thing I want to do is, because we are adding values to this here, I do want to clamp this end value here. So up between the add and the 1 minus, just bring in a clamp between 0 and 1. Just range that value back down into that range. Okay. We'll come back to here and I'll show you what it's doing once we put it into the scene. You'll be able to see the textures working, and we'll explain it a bit better when we can see it. Okay, so we now need to put in our plane, which is going to act as our fog. So find a plane object, put it onto the floor, and just raise up a little bit. Doesn't have to be too high. You just want it up a little bit. And I want to scale this across the size of my map. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole thing. That'll do just fine there. And then I'll drop in my fog of war. Now, immediately you'll see an issue where the fog of war won't cover up the trees or buildings or units because it's too low. And if you rise it too high, it will make things look a bit weird later on as well. But we can actually make it render above everything else. So if we go into our material for fog of war, and with the main node selected, you want to type in the word depth in the details, and you'll see disable depth test. Apply this, and it'll make something render above everything else. So even though the buildings are there, it won't render behind them. Okay. So now you've got essentially a fog covering the whole entire level from your view. Okay, so the next bit is to get our characters to draw to our render targets. So let's go into unit base. And we're going to first of all go to our begin play over here. And we've got something already on there. I want to put that into a sequence. So we separate it out a little bit from what else we're doing. Okay, so on begin play for our unit base class, we're going to tell this thing to create a dynamic material instance. And we're going to plug that in and choose our fog of war materials. So fog of war material. And these are the markers, the pens that we're going to be drawing on the textures with. So create dynamic material instance. We're going to promote that to a variable. This is just like fog of war material. And then we want to do another one for the reveal. So copy this. And we'll put in a fog of war reveal material and promote that to a variable as well. Then after that, we have to clear our render targets. Now we have to do this because at the start of the game, there may be some memory still on those render targets. So let's clean them up. At the start of the game, we don't get anything lingering on them. So you're going to take over here and do clear render target 2D. And all you do is choose our render targets. Okay, we're going to do that one. And we'll do another one, the reveal one. Okay, so here you can go back through this again. We're creating 2 dynamic material instances for the fog of war, and they have to be dynamic material instances because we're using that location variable, so it's going to be different per unit. So they need their own ones. And then we clean up our render targets with the clear render target with black, which basically is 0, so it wipes it all clean. Okay, next we have to make our tick event. So we're going to go into create tick. And you really need a tick on this one because we need to constantly draw where we are on this fog. So in the tick event, we're going to do a line trace to get our position. Line trace by channel. And immediately change the trace channel here to fog. If you haven't got it seen there, make sure you add it in your project settings as I showed at the start of the video. The start position for this will be the actor's location. And I'm going to add an offset to it. So I'm going to add vector. And on the Z, I'm going to add in let's say 500. And that'd be my start. My end position is going to be the actor location plus another offset. This time it's going to be minus 500. Basically, I get a straight line going down at the character's location through the world. Now, for this to work, you do need to tick on Trace Complex. So tick this, and that'll be able to give us the exact location at where we are in UV space. And we get that location UV space by dragging it from out here and typing in UV. You'll see Find Collision UV. Now we've got our X and Y coordinate in a UV space for our collision. So we're going to drag out our Fog of War material, and on here we're going to do set vector parameter, plug that in, and a parameter name is location, and our value is going to be split. So I'm going to split both of these. I'm going to plug UVX into R, UVY into G. Now, I won't do the other one just yet. We'll just leave the reveal one for a second. We need to make our line trace now able to hit our plane, because at the moment we told him to ignore everything. So click on your plane that you have in your map, scroll down to the collision settings and go to collision presets and choose custom. And on here, you want to make sure collision enabled is set to query only. So you don't want any physics collisions with it at all. You just want querying. And we're going to change it to ignore everything. Okay, so tick the ignore box at the top and it'll set all of them. But the fog one, you want to set to block. That way it will have no impact on the world apart from that fog trace. Once you've done that, we'll hit play and you should see it's working now. Okay, so there's our units, and you can see them revealing parts of the map as they move, revealing parts like that. Okay, so the reveal one's slightly different. Now the reveal one is going to be showing the full location, the full breadth of it. 'Cause there's still like a transparency on this, because if I go underneath the plane, you'll see it. Okay, brighten up. So let's just go through and show you what I mean. So on here, we can use the exact same things we've got going on here. We can take the Fog of War reveal and plug that into this one as well, because they're using the same parameter. And then a draw material to render target, I can just do Fog of War reveal and do draw material to render target, selecting the reveal one this time. Now if I leave this as is, you have a look what happens. Okay, now you can see that because they are bigger, he will leave behind that trail of non-committal space. But the problem is, because the reveal one is brighter and will open up more of the map, it's just leaving it all behind as fully open. Okay, which is not really what we want. So what we need to do is make it so our reveal one gets wiped clean regularly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our game mode, and on a tick event in here, we're going to clean up that render target. So do clear render target, and I'm going to clear the Fog of War reveal. Compile, hit play. Okay, and now we can see it kind of working as we expect it to. As our character walks about, they will leave behind the trail of darkness, but you can still see through it. Make sure I can walk through. That's fine. But we've got that revealed sort of light area around our character. Okay. Now, this wants to happen on our building units as well. At the moment, building units won't work because their setup is slightly different. So let's quickly go in and make those work, and then we'll call it a day. So let's go into our unit folder, go to our unit building base, and because this inherits from unit base, it has access to the same code, same variables as the other one. So on this one, you just have to go to the begin play, which is up here. Yeah, begin play. Make sure you've got the parent begin play first of all. So if you don't have this, right click and do add call to parent function. It should be there, but just make sure that is there. Then we have to make our tick event inherit from the parent function. So right click on tick to call to parent function, and we'll plug that in. to there. Hit compile and save that. So now when I push play, our buildings themselves are also going to light up the area. Which is generally what happens in your games. You tend to put in structures to expose areas for your game. Now there may be an occasion where you want some areas to be a lot brighter. Ignore that, it's just all AI stuff. Because they're trying to kill each other. Some occasions you want the size of the reveal area to be larger based on like the building or based on a unit. So for example, you may have archers or ranged attackers that will want to see further, for example. So we need to make something on our unit base that takes into account that size. So what we do here on variables is going to do here fog reveal size and make that a float. Compile this and set the default value of this to 0.05. Now on the begin play of our unit base, at the end here, I'm going to drag out my fog of war material and we're going to do set scalar parameter value. I'll plug that in and put in the word size. And the value is going to be our fog reveal size. So now I can customize this value on each unit. So let's go to my building base here and say, actually, let's go to my capital building. And on the capital building, we're going to go to the class defaults. And scroll down, you'll see fog reveal size. I'm going to turn that up to 0.1. So it's twice as large, the area. I hit play now. You can see when I place this, it's a lot larger than others. Okay. So now we need to do it for the reveal one as well. So let's go into our unit base and plug in our fog of war reveal material into the same node. And going to now. So if I place my base over here, you can see it's got a much larger area of visibility. We can explore and reveal parts of the map. And there we have a fog of war system. In the next episode, we're going to go through and show how to hide enemies inside the dark spot here. So even though it's not completely hidden from view, they want to be still not visible to the player. So we're going to go through that in the next episode. You can watch that next episode right now over on patreon.com/Ryan Laley. We can catch all my videos before everyone else from a monthly donation. Thank you so much to all my Patreon members and YouTube members for their donations and support. It really is amazing. I can't thank you enough. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone.